Game 4 of our previewing for tomorrow's games. Justin Herbert and the 1-1 Chargers travel to Arrowhead Stadium to take on Patrick Wilson and the 1-1 Kansas City Chiefs. This one should be a thriller. The Chargers, so far this season, have been pretty competitive. They edged out Washington football team on the road in week 1. Justin Herbert going 31 for 47, 337 yards. He had a touchdown and an interception. The Justin Herbert we saw from last year pretty much. Still really good and explosive. And then Austin Eckler making his return after having a shortened season due to injury last year. He had 15 carries for 57 yards, 3.8 yards per carry average, and 1 touchdown. And then Larry Roundtree out of Missouri had a pretty underrated game too. 8 carries for 27 yards, 3.4, but that's still pretty noteworthy. And then Keenan Allen had a really good game, 9 receptions for 100 yards. Mike Williams had 8 receptions, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Jared Cook had 5 receptions, 56 yards. And then KJ Hill and Jalen Guyton. Guyton with 3 receptions for 49 yards. And KJ Hill with 3 receptions for 30 yards. Overall, the Chargers receiving core looks pretty nasty. It looks really, really good. As well as we'll look at the Chargers against the Cowboys. That one was a close one, and that was one that I was able to watch. Greg Zuerlein had to kick the field goal, which ultimately won them the game against the Cowboys. And let's see what happened. So the Chargers that game, Justin Herbert did have 2 interceptions. But though he did keep them in the game with his amazing passing game skills, and he had 31 completions out of 41 attempts, 338 yards, and 1 touchdown. Austin Eckler, once again, having a good game. 9 carries for 54 yards, 6 yards per carry. Justin Jackson, 4 carries for 21 yards, as that one was more of a pass-heavy game. And Keenan Allen, once again, staying consistent, getting over 100 yards again, 4 receptions for 108 yards. And Mike Williams had 7 receptions, 91 yards. He was a monster in that game. 1 touchdown. And then Austin Eckler had 9 receptions for 61 yards. And Jared Cook and Josh Palmer had 21 and 28 yards off of a few receptions. So, the Chargers overall did pretty good against the Cowboys defense, per se, as the Cowboys defense was reinvigorated. Chargers were able to get 1 interception from Asante Samuel, who is their 2nd-round pick and has been pretty elite for them so far. I'm very impressed with Asante Samuel, as the Chargers defense has been pretty good. They've held their opponents to 20 points or less so far in the first 2 weeks. I know it's the first 2 weeks, but considering it's the football team and the Cowboys, I think that's a win-win right there. As well as I think that the Chargers defense might be able to slow down the Chiefs a little bit, though I think it's going to have to be a high-scoring game, and I think the Chargers do have the offense to make it a high-scoring game. Let's look at the Chiefs so far this season. Kansas City edged out the Browns. The Browns had a huge lead in the first half. Then Kansas City came back to life in the second half and ultimately won that game 33-29. Patrick Mahomes was 27 for 36, 3 touchdowns, 337 yards. So pretty much, he and Herbert are around the same area of yards produced. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was the leading rusher with 14 carries for 43 yards, so not too bad right there. And Tyreek Hill almost had 200 yards that game. He just went off. 11 receptions, 197 yards. And then our boy Travis Kelce, 6 receptions, 76 yards, 2 touchdowns. Oh, by the way, Tyreek Hill did have 1 touchdown reception. And then Edwards, McCole Hardman had 3 receptions, 19 for McCole and 29 for Hardman. 29 for Hilaire, sorry. I looked at Demarcus Robinson, who had 9 yards. So, then the next week, we get a thriller for a Sunday night football game. Chiefs travel to Baltimore, and they take on Lamar Jackson. Patrick Mahomes did give up the interception that ultimately helped the Ravens really run away with that game. Though he did have a monster performance against that Ravens secondary, which is usually pretty gnarly. He still had a monster game of 343 yards, 24 completions, and 31 attempts. 3 touchdowns as well. Hilaire was the leading rusher once again in the 40s. 13 carries for 46 yards, so 3.5 yards per carry. And then they also had the leading receiver was Travis Kelce. It looked like the Ravens did a good job of shutting down Tyreek Hill, as he only had 3 receptions for 14 yards. Travis Kelce was the one that came to life in that game, and he made some great catches on the seams. He had 7 receptions, 109 yards, and 1 touchdown reception. And then Byron Pringle had 2 receptions, 63 yards, 1 touchdown. McCole Hardman came to life in that game, and instead of 19 yards, he had 55 yards with 5 receptions. And then Demarcus Robinson had 3 receptions for 46 yards and 1 touchdown. So, yeah, and like I said, the Ravens ultimately won that game through an interception committed by Patrick Mahomes. It was a good game. The Ravens are good as always, you know. They almost beat the Raiders, who beat the Steelers in week 2. So we could trust that the Raiders are going to be back to where they were last year, maybe a little bit better. We don't know yet. It's still week 3. We're still learning the identities of these teams. But I think this one should be an entertaining game in Arrowhead Stadium. 2 exciting offenses with amazing receiving cores. LA may have the better running back room, though Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a pretty solid running back. And I think, it'll be hard to say if he'll infiltrate that Chargers interior defensive line, because Joey Bosa is a monster, and the other players that I keep forgetting the names of for some reason. But it's not going to be an easy task for Patrick Mahomes to take down the Chargers defense. I believe the Chargers are definitely a top 15, possibly top 10 defense in the NFL this year. And I believe that he's going to have a challenge with Derwin James. Let's see who else. There's a lot of good players in that Chargers secondary. It's Asante Samuel. I can usually name quite a few. Sorry, my brain has just kind of been everywhere since I've been covering so many matchups today. But it will be a tight one. But make no joke, Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City offense are insane. And I think the Chargers are going to need a score in the 30s. I think the Chiefs may win this one. I think they're slightly better than the Chargers, but I think it will be a tight one, and I am excited to see where this thing goes. I think it may reach the 30s in scoring, probably somewhere around the lines of where the Ravens-Chiefs game was at. Though I could also see it being like Chargers score like 27, Chiefs score like 34, something like that. I think it will be a one possession game because that's how the Chargers like to play it. And I think that we should expect good things in this game. I think Justin Herbert, he will definitely go over 300 yards again. I will say he'll even score a few touchdowns, may get an interception, but I mean, we'll see what happens. Patrick Mahomes, I think anywhere from 300 to 400 yards. He'll definitely get a few touchdowns and will be a fantasy favorite tomorrow. Like I said, I think the Chiefs will pull away with this, but the Chargers should give them a good game, and I wouldn't be shocked if the Chargers even win it, as Kansas City is starting to become mortal in the AFC, as the AFC is starting to adapt to the Kansas City Chiefs, who have been absolutely dominant in the last 2 years. Though it looks promising for the AFC West, as the Raiders, Chargers, and Broncos are all rising up and seem to be getting ready to meet on the challenge of the dynastic power in Kansas City. Who do you think will win tomorrow? Do you think it will be the Chiefs? Do you think it will be the Chargers? What's your final score? And by the way, just let me know how I can improve, what you guys would like to see from me. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope you guys enjoy these games. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.